So
Seryoso?
parang
Ano siya.
My gosh.
Tapos hindi ako nag-earphones para mas ma-release.
Ganun. Tapos parang masakit pa nga rin yung likod ko. Tapos parang, naku, ano ba to? Effect ba to? Nasa left kasi kanina. So, ano ba? Ano ba? Ano? I'll be
Kasalanan po
okay.
ng dalawang tusok yan.
Oo. Sabi ko, kung ako masama, ilalabas ko yung video. Video ko, na-video ko talaga yon. Ay, nako, ang hirap. Ganyan. Okay. Oh, ay, game na pala tayo.
Dito na po pala tayo. Anyway, sige, start na po tayo. Good afternoon. So, welcome to Coffee Break, Reflections and Conversations. I'm your coffee buddy, Janny Surmieda.
Coffee Break is a relaxed discussion on management principles over coffee, tea, or your choice of drink. I am Dan Dorado.
It is a virtual pantry where we meet our colleagues and friends in the LIC world. I am Rowena Apolinario, your resident mama and tita.
And I am Dridge Reyes, your kuya, TA. So stop working for a moment. Grab your drink of choice and join us, the management faculty members of SLIS, on a well-deserved recess. Join us on our
Coffee
Coffee
break!
Last time, we had a very special episode with our former deans and current deans of SLIS as we talk about the ups and downs of their deanships. We truly learned a lot from them on how they manage people and face challenges during their time. This time, we'll be talking about career development, specifically those who are taking postgraduate degree. No? So joining us today are two SLIS alumni who are currently based and taking up graduate studies in Europe. First, we have Randolf Mariano. Randolph is currently a PhD student at the Department of Language and Culture under the Media and Documentation Science Research Unit at the University of Tromsø, the Arctic University of Norway. He is part of the research group LAMCOM, which stands for Libraries, Archives, and Museums in the Community. And he is focused on studying the essential role of cultural and innovation diplomacy toward LAM's learning environment in providing educational, economic, and social opportunities to the civic public. Prior to taking PhD studies, Randolph worked as digital engagement librarian at various public diplomacy and cultural centers located in diplomatic missions and embassies in the Philippines, including the U.S. Department of State and Republic of Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Hi, Randolph!
Hello po everyone.
Our second guest today is Darrel Marco. So Darrel is currently taking up an international master's in children's literature, media, and culture from an international consortium of European universities, which later on I hope Darrel can further explain to us. So prior to pursuing graduate studies abroad, Darrel has worked as knowledge management specialist from a global law firm and also has worked experiences as school and teacher librarian. Hello, Darrel!
Hello. Isa rin po akong sex bomb.
Ayan!
Nakalimutan nyo.
Oo nga, salamat. So, Darrel and Randolph, no? So, kamusta naman kayo? Siguro we can start with Randolph. So, kamusta Randolph?
Ito naman, buhay pa. Buhay pa during pandemya. At
Oh,
ayan,
so,
yun po.
kamusta naman ang climate dyan, Randolph? So, nakapag-adjust ka na ba?
Climate-wise, hindi pa talaga actually kasi totally kakaiba talaga yung environment dito. Not actually nasabi ko na to kay Darrell dati. Now we have the polar nights and the midnight sun. So we are currently experiencing midnight sun right now. So it means that 24/7 there's a sun. So and then polar night is during November to January 15. And that's the time na talagang totally dark and yeah. Yun lang.
Grabe, no?
Yun yung mga Arctic experience na that I would say na very interesting, pero kailangan mo i-prepare yung mind mo for that kasi it's really it feels like you're out of the world, para ka nasa Mars or para ka nasa ibang planeta sa kakaiba ng kanilang climate and kakaiba ng kanilang environment dito.
Sorry,
I'm
Randolph,
adjusting.
does it affect your sleep? Like having
Yes, at
sun
first,
all
opo.
day?
Yeah, opo. Nakaka-apekto. So, pero kapag maayos naman yung kwarto mo and then you have your blinds,
Okay.
talaga, pag totally dark yung room, you will be able to sleep and you will be able to generate melatonin. So, para makatulog. Yes.
So, ayun, grabe, no? Sobrang extreme. Unlike dito sa atin sa Philippines, define ng morning sa gabi,
Yeah.
no? So, Darrel, ikaw, kamusta ka? So, naabutan ka na ng pandemic dyan. Kamusta naman?
Okay naman, lumalaban tayo. Sabi ko nga, hindi
Laban
tayo
talaga,
pinalaki
bawal
ng
lang
sex bomb.
bumawi.
Hindi tayo pinalaki ng sex bomb para bumawi. So, laban lang. Ano ba nangyari? Kasi nung first lockdown, nasa Denmark ako. Tapos, ayun, ganitong time yun summer. Tapos, medyo, kasi nasa north yung Denmark. So, yung summer din doon, mahaba during that time. Siguro hanggang until 12 midnight. Tapos, yung sikat niya, lulubog lang siya from 12 to 3 a.m. Tapos 3 a.m. maliwanag na naman. Pero yun, going back to lockdown, nakakaloka siya talaga. kasi para kang nakakulong. Pero siguro thankful ako kasi nakatira ako with my classmates. So at least merong konting social interaction. Tapos when we moved to the Netherlands, nagkaroon din pala kami ng at least time na maka-travel sa Norway. Nagkita kami ni Randolph sa Norway last summer. Ayan, gantong season yan.
Yes,
Kasi,
actually, today siya nag-end.
So yun, gantong season.
Yeah.
So yun, ganito, yun na lang kasi yung time na madaling mag-travel kasi nga
true.
medyo nag-relax sila ng regulations.
Yeah.
Tapos when I moved to the Netherlands, ayan, bam, na naman, lockdown na naman. Pero simula nung March, medyo na sila. Gradually nag-open na. Tapos yesterday nga, meron ng parties. Tapos, ayun, medyo carry na. Nakapunta na rin sa library. So libraries are open na rin. Museums are open na rin. So medyo, ayun. Pero yun nga, at the same time, you try to recognize your privilege din na nandito ka sa Europe. Kasi yun, ang hirap din, alam mo yung hati yung utak mo na while you're trying to enjoy here, iniisip mo yung mga kababayan mo back in the Philippines na ngayon ECQ na naman. Ayun.
Ay, balikan ko yun, sorry, Darrel. Di ba, sabi mo talagang nahahati yung isip mo, no?
Mm-hmm.
Balikan natin yung first few months nyo ng pagdating dyan sa Europe, no? Siguro gusto ko malaman, paano kayo nag-survive during the first few months, no? In terms of in terms of siguro lifestyle, adjustment in time, tapos yung napalayo kayo sa family ninyo, tapos syempre yung language. Paano niyo na-adjust yung mga ganung aspeto ng pagiging foreign student, especially for the first few months nyo sa Europe?
Randolph ba ako?
Go ahead, Darrel.
Ako na.
Go ahead, Darrel.
Ako na to. Paano ba? Yung first country ko kasi sa Scotland, sa Glasgow. So yung in terms of language, medyo carry pa kasi English naman yung, although heavily Glaswegian, Scottish accent, ganyan. Tapos very warm naman ang tao sa Glasgow. Although ang big adjustment ko was the weather. Nagkaroon ako ng winter depression nun kasi Glasgow is really dark around 3 p.m. Mag-gray skies na yan. Tapos rarely yung araw talaga. As in yung araw, di ba coming from the Philippines na
Talagang maliwanag.
Yes. Yung alas 12 nandito, nakatutok yung araw.
Araw-araw parang mainit, tapos na nasisikatan ka ng araw. Tapos yun pala, nung nag-consult ako sa doctor ko, vitamin D deficiency daw.
Ah,
Kasi nga you get it naturally from the sun.
Yeah.
Yes,
Eh,
yes.
pagdating mo sa Glasgow, wala kang araw. Meron kang araw pero sobrang, alam mo yun, pag may araw, nasa classroom ka, so hindi mo rin siya ma-absorb.
enjoy.
Ayan. Oo. Tapos in terms of, siguro natuto akong mag-grocery. Pero yun nga, Johnny, ano pa rin siya, privilege talaga. Kasi like here, yung grocery, andyan lang sa bakuran mo. So, ang daling mag-grab na mga mabibili. Tapos yung, you have your washing machine. Lahat andyan na. Washing machine, vacuum. Tapos, ano na lang talaga, time management na lang on how you separate your personal life, tapos yung linis life mo, cleaning the bahay and everything, tapos yung study life mo, saka social life that time kasi okay pa nun nung wala pong pandemic. Pero yun, nagkaroon ako ng winter depression, tapos may days talaga na tatawag pa lang ako sa parents ko, umiiyak na ako. Tapos I don't know, hindi ko alam kung bakit. So yun sabi ko, hindi na to normal. So nagpa-check up ako sa doctor. Ayun. So sabi niya, yun nga, bukod sa homesickness. Kasi ma-homesick ka talaga. Ma-homesick ka. So ang pinakang madali kong takbuhan, fellow Filipinos na nandun. Saka yung, for my experience, I'm not sure kay Randolph, yung Latina classmates ko. Kasi, ayun, medyo pareho ng experience ng colonization.
May point ka.
Actually, experience ko rin yan nung last time na medyo tumagal abroad. Yung first few months talaga mabigat siya para sa emotionally, no, mabigat siya. So, kamusta naman si Randolph? Mas matagal ang yan. Mas matagal yata ang program mo, RD, no?
Oo, matagal pa. Matagal pa.
First two.
Matagal pa. Going back dun sa vitamin D, I was really shocked kasi ang unang regalo sa akin ng supervisor ko is vitamin D.
Oh.
Binigyan niya ako ng isang bottle, as in malaking bottle ng fish oil and salmon oil. Sabi niya, you need this one because you have to take this every day until we reach polar nights. Kasi you'll never know what will happen during that winter season. So sabi niya, kailangan mo mag-adjust. So na-anticipate niya na yung mga ganung bagay. Ako naman na pasaway, hindi ko siya iniinom. So naka-display lang siya sa naka-display lang siya sa dito sa mga lalagyan ko dito. And then all of a sudden, sabi ko masyadong fitness, tignan ko pa, ay mahal-mahal pala nito, vitamin D na to. Kasi parang premium oil pa siya, galing pa siya sa wild salmon, some sort of. So, ako naman, sabi ko, regalo ko na lang sa nanay ko pag uwi ko na Pilipinas. Yung mga ganyan tayong mindset, pag nakukuha tayo, hindi, bibigay ko na ito sa Pilipinas, balikbayan box, ganyan. Pero tapos, I realized na mag-October na, mag-November na, doon ko na naranasan. Kasi, nagle-lesson na yung nagda-dark na. Kasi August, okay ka pa, saya-saya pa. September, saya-saya pa, travel, ganyan, picture-picture doon. Pagdating na October, November, lumalamig na, tapos shorter na kasi yung daytime, so mga 5 hours, 6 hours na lang. And then you'll realize na parang may kakaiba sa akin na parang kailangan mo ng kayakap, ganyan. Yes, kailangan mo ng kayakap. Ganyan, may mga ganyang feeling ka na. Tapos, and then, during that time, midterms na, finals na, so you pressure your brain cells talaga to work, diba? So, yun na nga. And then, kinausap ko yung supervisor ko, tapos sabi niya sa akin, are you taking the vitamin D? So, nagalit siya sa akin kasi hindi ko nga tinake na, hindi ko tinake yung regalo niya no August. Na-tinake ko lang siya no November. So, actually, it made a difference nung uminom ako ng vitamin D every day. Puwera biro, pero totoo talaga yung vitamin D. So I took like twice a day ng, malaki yung capsule actually malaki siya. So kailangan mo ng mga 2 galon na tubig para ma-absorb ng katawan mo, ganyan. So kailangan mo talaga, you have to take vitamin D and you have to take care of yourself. Especially, I think that's the, parang moral lesson for me na sa Philippines kasi you take it for granted na parang, syempre andyan lang yung parents mo, andyan lang yung family mo, andyan lang yung mercury, makakabili ka ng paracetamol anytime. Pero pag nasa ibang bansa ka na, you have to take care of yourself, you have to take care of your physical health and also your mental health. And by taking, proper supplements like vitamin D, and it's really important if you are here in up north of the European region. Tapos naman, although hindi rin siya enough yung vitamin D na kasi nag-approach kami ng Polar Nights November 15. It started at November 30 rather. So yun, na parang na-miss ko talaga yung sun. Sa atin, wala parang sa Pilipinas, sabi nga ni Darrel, parang dyan lang siya everyday. Alas 12, nagpapayong ka pa kasi sobrang init sa Pinas, di ba? So dito, mamimiss mo talaga siya, mamimiss mo yung araw. So, meron akong spontaneous na, bigla na lang ako nag-book ng flight. Like, nag-leave ako sa office, sabi ko sa supervisor ko, I need to see the sun. So I flew from 2019 to wala pang pandemya. So napakadali. So I flew from Tromsø to Athens. Tapos nakita ko yung sun doon. As in, naiyak talaga ako na parang, ayun pala siya, yung pala yung tsura ng sun. So sometimes we take it for granted, things that, surrounds us. Lalo na sa Pilipinas, we have this all throughout the year, sunny and rainy season, 2 seasons tayo. So, pero pag nasa kakaibang environment ka na, or rather harsh environment, you have to prepare your mind and you have to prepare yourself as well. So, yun yung mga experience ko.
Grabe. Naririnig ko ngayon parang nagdadalawang isip na tuloy akong parang kalimutan yung sikat ng araw, no? Kasi ako medyo mareklamo ako pagka mainit eh. As in talagang kung lalabas kami ng kahit 10 a.m., sasabihin ko kay Mrs., mamaya na tayo lumabas na hapon pagka hindi na mainit. Tapos, ganun pala importante, especially when you're up there sa Europe. No? So,
Oo. And Janny also, may I add, kasi nga, ngayon na-highlight, kasi nga, di ba, all throughout the year, when the pandemic started, we experienced a lot of mental health problems, di ba, among students, among everyone. And lagi talaga, may value talaga. Kaya lagi nilang sinasabing mag-exercise ka, magpa-araw ka. Kasi kailangan talaga ng katawan yon, di ba? Pag mababa yung vitamin D mo, meron talagang possibility na mag-depression ka. So,
Yes.
kaya tinan mo yung nangyari kay Darrel. Siguro nga mas na-highlight, especially in your environment there in Europe, no? Kasi dito, yun na nga, natitake for granted natin ang araw. At ayaw na natin yung araw dahil sobra. Pero sobra siyang importante. No? Lalo na ngayon, na kailangan talaga natin ayusin yung ating mental health. So, especially in your case, because you're away. Diba? You're away from your families. O sige, go ahead, Jan.
although sa case ko naman po, very strong ang support ng university. So they either have the professional psychologist and psychosocial help. Meron ding peer support group. So fellow students na pwede mong lapitan para Siguro yung isang shock ko lang din dito. Nabanggit kasi ni Randolf yung mercury drug. Dito kasi sobrang regulated ng gamot. True. So hindi ka basta-basta makakabili ng any gamot. So usually GP or yung general physician mo yung una mong kaharap. Tapos noon yung nakakatawa sa Denmark kasi nagkaroon ako ng parang some body pains ganyan. Tapos alam mo, inisip mo mamamatay ka na ganyan. Tapos pagpunta ko sa GP, ang sabi niya, uminom ka lang ng tsaa, ganyan. Parang hindi ka pa naman mamamatay. Kasi sa Pinas, di ba, parang parang x-ray ka, ganyan. Tapos kung anong body check, sa kanila parang, okay ka pa naman, nakahinga ka pa, tapos nakakatawa ka pa. Pahinga ka lang sa bahay, ganyan. So, yun.
Ay, Darrel, by the way, ano yung program? Can you tell us more about your program dyan? Medyo nung tinitinan ko yung profile mo, medyo curious ako kung anong klase ng program yung meron si Darrel kasi if I'm not mistaken, may MLIS degree ka na dito from SLIS. You took another master's degree in children's literature, di ba? So, can you tell us more about the program and paano mo nalaman or how did you come about dun sa program and paano ka nag-apply?
Nag-aantay kasi ako before nung sa deal. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar dun sa deal, yung digital librarianships under Erasmus Mundus program din.
Mhm.
In general muna. So in general, yung Erasmus Mundus program, it's a partnership. It's headed by the European Union, tapos the European Commission specifically. Tapos it's a partnership between different universities in the European Union. Tapos sometimes meron ding outside of the European Union. Kagaya yung program ko, meron sa UBC, University of British Columbia in Canada. Tapos yung isang program din ng alam ko, meron naman sa Japan. So hindi lang siya, kumbaga, limited sa EU. Pero majority is centered sa EU. So yun. Inaabangan ko yung deal kasi gusto ko talaga siyang applyan digital librarianship. Kasi I was thinking, as a librarian, kumbaga yun yung pinakamadaling applyan. Kasi it's tailor-made for us. Kaso nagtapos na pala yung ano niya, funding kasi 3 cohorts lang. Tapos natapos na yung funding niya. Ngayon, habang nagsisearch ako sa catalog, everyone can search pala yung European, yung EJMD. So that's the European Joint Master's Degree Catalog. Madali lang siya i-search sa Google. Type niyo lang Erasmus Plus catalog, tapos lalabas na din yung lahat ng programs available. Tapos yun, nakita ko, di ba, I was also involved with storytelling, with school librarianship, and also with writing children's books. Tapos nakita ko yung children's literature, media, and culture. Tapos sabi ko, parang okay to parang fun, ganyan. Tapos, ayun, in-applyan ko siya. Tapos, hindi pala siya fun.
But wait,
there's a catch. Yan. Anyway, so going back muna dun sa application. Ayun, so nag-apply lang ako. I asked for recommendations from Ma'am Rhea and Sir Igor. Ayun, thank you Ma'am Rhea kasi nakatulong naman siya. Tapos, ayun, siguro yung mga former students din na gustong mag-apply, I would advise them na, don't be shy to approach your professors. Kasi kilala nila kayo and they are proud of you. Yun yung na-feel ko. Kaya salamat sa support ng SLIS. Ayun. Tapos, yun nga, tinapos ko muna yung MLIS ko kasi yun din, one of the requirements sa Glasgow was to finish my MLIS bago ako mag-start ng kasi natanggap ako sa program. Pero sabi nila, tapusin ko yung program ko muna. Ayun, andun din si Sir Dan, witness din siya doon. Ayan, sa roller coaster ride. Pero yun, and also, siguro, magbigay na rin ako ng tips, Janny, kung gusto nila mag-apply. So yun nga, it's a consortium between University of Glasgow in Scotland and then Aarhus University in Denmark. Tapos, for the 3rd semester, you can choose between Tilburg University in the Netherlands, kung nasa nakarong ngayon, tapos Barcelona, and also Wrocław in Poland. So it depends sa gusto mong puntahan. Sa Tilburg, ang tinuro sa amin dito is canon formation, like how canon literatures are formed or how are they conceptualized and theorized. Sa Barcelona naman, more on reading promotion and how you can develop more reading culture for children and young adults. Sa Poland is children's media and film. So how do you branch through that from theorizing all this children's literature and childhood and children's experiences? Paano mo naman siya gagawa ng media and films? So something like that. Pero very, very tip of the iceberg lang yan. So for those who want to apply, siguro always be on the lookout muna especially ng deadlines kasi strict sila sa deadlines. And just like what I've mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to approach your former professors kasi kilala naman nila kayo and ayun, go lang, ask them for help, ask for support. Saka yun din yung sabi ni Randolph kanina, sa Pinas kasi ang daling magkaroon ng social support. Andyan lang yung social support mo. So here, siguro yun, dito ko natutunan na don't be afraid to ask for help. Kasi there's nothing wrong with asking for help. So going back to application, so ask your professors. And then ang pinakamahalaga, at least for my program, is the motivation letter. So if you would want to write a motivation letter, be clear and concise with your objectives, and also bakit mo ba gustong mag-aral ng program. So yun. And then siguro yun lastly, believe in yourself. Wow. Wow. Yun naman talaga eh. Always believe in yourself and in the goodness of the universe. Yun. Taray.
The universe will conspire.
Everything will align. The universe will align.
Malalim mga sagot mo.
Oo.
Miss Universe nga
Miss
po yan.
Universe
Miss
talaga.
Universe yung mga sagot yan eh.
Pero ngayon ko lang actually narinig yung European Joint Masters Catalog. And for those that are listening to us now, no, kagaya sabi ni Darrel, i-search nyo lang siya sa Google, and true enough, the first result is the European Joint Masters Catalog. And this is a master's degree yung kay Darrel, no? And I'm wondering if si Randolph have the same, is it under the same program or it's totally different, Randolph?
Ayan. So may isasend akong link. Ito na po siya. Ayan. May link po. Kakaiba po ang PhD sa Europe actually. It's a work. You are considered as an entry-level researcher. So compared to other countries, let's say for example Australia or in the United States, they have a different route for PhDs. They are considered a student, and a student who is a doctoral students. But here in Europe, especially in the Scandinavian countries, they're considered as entry-level researchers to prepare you for the academia. So ganun po yung kanilang route. For my story naman, actually, magkasama kami nila Darrel sa Goethe Institute tour. You remember that, Darrel? Nagrampa-rampal sa
Europa.
Munich, sa Europa, you know. ASLP, we got a grant from Goethe Institute to go to Germany. Para mag-visit kami ng mga special libraries. And syempre, picture, ganyan. So, after Germany, naghiwa-hiwalay na kami. So, I think Darrel went to somewhere else. Tapos ako, Netherlands, yes, to meet friends there. Tapos ako, nagpunta ako ng London. Kasi nandun na ako, sabi ko, sayang yung pamasahe. And I have this mindset na gusto ko sana meron akong matutunan pa. So, nagpunta ako London to attend the conference. Yung Internet Librarian International Conference, if you're familiar with that. It's in London siya, sa London. So during that time, parang nagkataon na parang magkasunod siya after the study tour. The next following week naman is yung conference. So I attended that conference and then I presented my paper about makerspace. Makerspace yung thesis ko. Yan. Thank you, Ma'am Rhea. Advice ko si Ma'am Rhea. Tapos present ko siya. So, and then I met a couple of colleagues from UIT, the Arctic University of Norway, from that conference. And then I met Filipina din na taga Dubai. Na dati siyang nasa DEAL program, which you're talking about, Darrel, a while ago. Dati siya Erasmus, na kasama niya dati yung mga Filipinos na nag-Erasmus din dati sa Europe. And then I met a colleague niya na nag-work sa UIT, and then she said to me, join UIT kasi meron kaming research project ngayon na tungkol sa ganito. So at first hindi ko alam kung paano kayo mag-apply. So I tinanong ko siya, tapos sinend niya sa akin yung link. Sinend niya sa akin yung link na yan, euraccess.ec.europa.eu. And you have to apply for the job as part of the research group. So ganun po ang route for PhD sa Europe. You have to find a mentor, you have to find a supervisor, or you have to find a research group or research project na sponsored by Erasmus or Marie Curie. So, yung program ko po is sponsored by Marie Curie, which is, I think it's also the same route with the Erasmus then. Same funding lang sila. And then, they have to have a project with Marie Curie, and then that's the time that they could hire staff. They could hire researchers, mid-level researchers, saka entry-level researchers. Entry-level researchers are the doctoral research fellows or the PhD students. So yun po. So nag-hire sila ng PhD students. So ang deadline nun is pag yung departure ko sa London airport, yun yung deadline. So nakakatawa kasi talagang inaayos ko yung project. So inayos ko yung letter of interest mo na mag-join dun sa research program. So I got really interested kasi ang ganda ng pagkakatalk ni ate girl na tita ko dito sa Tromsø ngayon kasi she's working
Na-sales
at the
talk ka niya.
university. Na-sales talk niya ako. So ang ganda ng pagkakatalk. Sige, go.
Ma'am, sir.
And si Ma'am Glenda. So inayos ko yung application ko, nasa airport ako. So doon sa long haul flight, connecting flight ko is Hong Kong yata or Dubai, I forgot. So doon, inayos ko siya, tapos pinasa ko rin siya during that time. Kasi meron naman akong prepared ng mga letters, ganyan. Kasi nag-apply na rin naman ako sa iba. Hindi lang ako natanggap. Ayan. Ganun po talaga pag PhD, apply lang na apply kasi hindi mo alam kung saan ka matatanggap. At minsan matatanggap ka pero walang funding. So kailangan mo bayaran yung tuition fee, kailangan mo bayaran yung lahat. Allowances mo, walang allowances. So you have to find a right fit for you. So yun. So I applied for this and I totally na-forgot ko na siya talaga. Hindi ko na maalala. Kasi parang ang tagal nila mag-respond. So it took siguro mga 6 months, ganyan po. So parang nakalimutan ko na, sabi ko, feeling ko hindi na ako natanggap dito. So wala kasi silang follow-up. Yeah. And then yun nga po, naka-receive ako ng response May or June. Last week of June. Last week of May 2019. That I got a position for this research group. So yun po. And then siguro tips na lang din since nasabi na rin ni Darrel. First tip is if you really want to pursue PhD, you have to ask yourself if you are going to the academia or you want to go to the practical reality world as a practitioner. Kasi for me, I'm a practitioner. I'm not a researcher talaga. I came from a practicing librarianship. So medyo nakakagulat, culture shock talaga. Kasi wala akong skills katulad ng mga faculty sa UPSLIS. Wala akong mga ganon kasi hindi ako maalam, tsaka hindi rin ako nagturo. So wala din akong mga experience. So ang hirap mag-adjust. You have to prepare for that. And then if your answer is yes, gusto mo talaga mag-route sa academia, then go pursue PhD. Pero pag ang gusto mo naman is to work again in the library practice, then probably masters is the right fit for you. Kasi yun naman po talaga yung kailangan for the real world practicing librarianship. So yun. Tapos second is, akala ko pag PhD, parang marami ka pang mamimit ng mga tao, ganyan. Hindi. You're all alone. You're all alone. It's just you and your research and your supervisor. So it means that mas liliit yung mundo mo kasi mas specialized na yung ginagawa mo. Unlike masters na you are studying this, studying that, studying all kinds of librarianship and archives practices. Pero pagdating sa PhD, liliit yung mundo mo kasi yun na lang research mo, yung thesis mo, and your supervisor mo, and yung mga pinapagawa sa iyo sa departamento. Bilang ikaw ay isang alipin, kasi alipin talaga mga PhD, sorry ha. Alipin siya ng departamento. Siya yung pinaka, pag may kailangan i-check na paper, siya yung mag-check ng papers, ganyan. So, you have to prepare for that and you have to prepare na liliit yung mundo mo. Hindi lalaki yung network mo. Kasi kailangan mo mag-specialize sa isang particular subject area or field doon sa library information science. And library information science is very interdisciplinary. Napakadaming pwedeng aralin. At kailangan mo maging specific doon. So yun yung napansin ko. Akala ko kasi nung nag-work ako sa US Embassy, sa Korean Cultural Center, ang saya-saya, dami mo namimit ng mga tao, you chit-chat with a lot of people, and you know me guys, so talagang gusto ko talaga yung marami ako nakakausap ng mga tao, ganyan. Pag PhD ka, nakausap mo na lang sarili mo, ayan, kausap mo na lang yung thesis mo, kausap mo yung intrapersonal communication, yan, ganyan yung mga nagaganap sa akin. And second tip ko is, you have to find a good mentor. Sabi nga ni Darrel kanina, huwag kayo mahiya, don't hesitate. If you really want to pursue that program or postgraduate program, you have to reach out to the person. Huwag kayo agad-agad mag-apply. You have to reach out with a good mentor. And you have to reach out, find talaga, i-google nyo yung mga mentors na nag-right good fit or right fit for your program. Kasi kaya tayo hindi natatanggap or let's say for example, may experience na marami akong na-apply na hindi ako natanggap kasi hindi siya right fit for me. Hindi right fit yung supervisor, hindi niya kasi specialty yung field of study. Tapos, hindi din right fit yung funding kasi walang funding. So, poor lang po ako. So, hindi ko kayang bayarin yung tuition fee. Ganyan. So, yun po. And also, kapag PhD, konti lang kasi yung coursework. Unlike master's, di ba, ang dami-dami coursework, ang saya-saya, ang dami mo namimit ng mga estudyante. Pag PhD, konti lang yung coursework mo. It's all about research. Kung paano ka mag-research. You have to, parang, they would prepare you on how to do research in the real world. Or real world of academia. So you have to prepare for that. And also, pag mentor pala, huwag kang pipili ng mentor na sobrang, alam mo yun, yung intellectually, siya yung pinakamagaling sa field of study. You have to choose a mentor that is, yung balanced siya. Siya yung, okay siya sa field mo, right fit siya sa field mo, dun sa field of study mo, and also, passionate siya na magturo as a mentor. Kasi kapag namalas ka na mapunta sa not so okay na mentor, it will ruin your life. Sa totoo lang. Kasi marami akong kilala mga PhD sa all throughout here in Scandinavia na syempre nagchichismisan din yung mga PhD students kapag sa pantry, ganyan, kumusta naman yung supervisor mo? Parang mga kami, nag-uusap-usap ganyan. Tapos nalulungkot ako sa ibang mga PhD colleagues ko kasi ang galing ng mga mentors nila kaso kulang sa empathy. So, hindi compassionate, attitude-wise, medyo talagang notorious ganyan. So, syempre, di ba notorious na nga yung research mo, notorious na yung ginagawa mo as PhD. Tapos, kung yung supervisor mo pa is notorious at walang heart for mentoring, delikado. So, yun po. Kailangan maghanap kayo ng good mentor talaga in the field of study para at least maging smooth yung iyong direction, smooth yung maging route mo until the end of your PhD program. And also, last na po is, tatapusin ko na, joke lang. Last na po is, ano ba yung sasabihin ko? Yung sinabi ni Darrel kanina, strong time management. Yun. It's really important. Kasi pag PhD, wala na magre-remind sa'yo na kailangan mo magpasa ng paper, kailangan mo magpasa ng ganito, exam na next week, walang ganon. So even though there's a semester existing, pero hindi mo siya sinusunod, you have your own time, you have your own time zone, and you have to create your own time frame na mag-fit na matapos yung program mo up until you end your funding. Kasi pag na-end na yung funding mo at hindi ka patapos, good luck sa'yo. You have to find another funding for your program. Time management is really important. Yun lang po.
Thank you so much, Randolph, and Darrel, kasi you've mentioned a lot of parang your experiences in applying for a master's degree or master's program in Europe. Tapos ikaw naman, Randolph, for PhD program. And I remember in some of my former students in management, we talk about, of course, management concepts, but there are also students who really wanted to pursue further studies, and they would always ask, ano po ba ang mga kailangan? Siguro at that point when they were just students, hindi pa nila alam if they want to teach, but they just want to pursue graduate studies. And a lot of students are asking kung paano ba, 'di ba? And thank you for all your tips kasi sa mga makikinig sa atin din ngayon, malalaman nila kung ano yung ginawa ninyo, para makapunta kayo diyan sa Europa at makapag-aral ng masters at pursue PhD. And nababanggit nyo kanina kasi ngayon you're telling us about your current situation now. As a student, as a PhD student, as a master's student, balikan natin ngayon yung mga dati yung trabaho. Parang just a brief background kasi we would like to understand what parang somehow ano ba yung situation nyo. You were already, I know Randolph, you're already working in Thomas Jefferson, sa US Embassy, and you're holding a very good position there. And si Darrel is also you used to be a school librarian, tapos naging knowledge management specialist ka in a law firm. 'Di ba? So, ikwento nyo naman kasi gusto ko din namin maintindihan baka may epekto ba yung inyong pagtatrabaho before? That's why nag-aral kayo ng further studies, no? So, konting kwentuhan. Were you holding a management position? And, just tell us about your work. And how is it? Let's start with Darrel.
Hi.
Ay!
Hindi ako ready. Ayan. Anyway. Gusto ko pong balikan muna yung sinabi ni Randolph kanina, yung pag nag-masters ka or nag-PhD ka, they're gearing you up for the academe. Kasi the library world, at least what I've been oriented and been familiar about, was very practical. So yun, it's a big paradigm shift talaga. Kasi nga si library field for me, it's very practical. You're managing a library basically. So I started, so kung interested kayong mag-masters and PhD, siguro aside from all these practicalities ng preparations, ano na rin, start to have a change of mind or a paradigm shift para hindi kayo ma-shock na, ay, ano pala to? Kasi sabi ko kanina, di ba, pag sinabi nilang children's literature, ang saya naman, nagbabasa-basa siguro kayo ng fairy tales, ganyan, tapos mga nursery rhymes, tapos kami parang, no, kasi iba talaga yung academic world. So, ayun, anyway, since children's literature nga, I started being a school librarian. Tapos nag-manage ako ng lower grades library sa De La Salle Isabel. And then from there, sobrang mahiyain talaga ako noon.
Na-unleash lang po yung kanyang powers.
Oo.
Na siya sa YouTube.
Kagagawan nyo to. Kasalanan nyo to.
Lumabas ang pagiging sex bomb niya.
Hindi, yun. Very sort of introvert din ako noon. Tapos naging school librarian ako. So I ventured into storytelling. Kasi usually storytelling is a public performance. It's an art. So it's like you're engaged with your audience. So at first, timid ka pa. Until eventually, kebs ka na. So yun, you unleash your power, your inner sex bomb. Sumayaw, sumunod sa sex bomb. Ayan. So, after De La Salle Isabel, I moved to Xavier School in New Valley. So doon naman doon ko na-experience yung one-man librarian. Kasi at least sa De La Salle Isabel, it's like a library network. So iba-iba per school level. So meron kang kasamang librarians. Sa Xavier School New Valley naman, since bago siya, so I manage my own library. It's a huge library dun sa Xavier School New Valley. The children would usually say, "Uy, punta tayo sa kingdom ni Mr. Marco," ganyan. Kasi for them, it's a kingdom. Kasi ganun siya kalaki. Tapos, pa rin, the passion was still there. The passion to tell stories, the passion with children's literature. Kasi for me, I believe that reading is fundamental. So, kasi it's a basic step to anything. Yung pagbabasa, it's a basic step to anything. Kung di ka marunong magbasa, mahirapan ka sa math problem. Mahirapan kang maintindihan yung mga science comprehension. So for me, really reading is a fundamental thing. So yun. So sa mga nakikinig, siguro let's not limit ourselves na pag librarian ka, ka lang. Di ba usually there are stereotypes na library ka, tapos siguro mag-shelving ka, ganun. We're trying to break those stereotypes na hindi lang tayo ganun. Yes, it helps na we know these jobs, pero hindi lang tayo ganun. And for me, the track that I went into is yung passion ko into reading. Na as a librarian, we have a role para as a support system ng school para iparanas at ipaliwanag sa mga bata yung importance ng reading. Actually, kahit even some teachers are missing this essential link na si librarian andyan siya para hindi lang para pahiramin ka ng libro, but instead also to develop programs with you, to collaborate with you, to develop the curriculum as you go along, na you partner together. So yun. Kaso napagod ako. And I wanted to try something new. And for the listeners, there's nothing wrong with trying something new, and exploring something that you like, as long as you're enjoying it. At sabi nga nila, as long as wala kang natatapakang ibang tao. So yun, I wanted to explore something new. Tapos dumating yung opportunity ni Baker McKenzie, which is knowledge management. So yun, kagaya nga sabi ko kanina, si librarianship, hindi lang siya limited sa library, and hindi lang siya limited sa pagpapaborrow at pagpapa-return ng book, which is the usual stereotype. You also lots of skills. So from reading, na develop naman yung knowledge management skill ko, and also archival skill din, kasi we're involved with legal documents on how to archive them. But then it's a very corporate setup. So I realized na hindi ako, my heart is not within the corporate. Kasi yun nga, pero the passion for reading was still there. So sa sidelines, I was still heavily involved with the storytelling project, which is an non-government organization. So habang ako knowledge management, doing weekends or if I have time off, I still volunteer for the organization, kasi they believe, yung organization na to, they believe that reading is not a one-time process, but instead it's a continuous process. So yun, dun kumbaga dun na-anchor yung interest ko with the storytelling project. Tapos ano nga yung tanong niyo, Ma'am Rhea?
Actually, kwentuhan nga lang, gusto nating intindihin, no? Actually, yun yung susunod na tanong, which will be asked by Dan. Parang ano lang to entrada, no? Gusto nating intindihin yung trabaho niyo before, prior to studying.
Hindi ko pala
no?
nasagutin.
Yeah, okay lang. Because the next question will be about your motivation. Pero let's just
Okay.
understand first your context
Okay, so
prior
yun.
to studying.
So yun po, siguro for the undergrads na rin, kasi you will always have these doubts kung tama pa ba itong ginagawa ko, kung tama pa bang mag-LIS ako. Kung anong, sabi nga ng sex bomb, kung anong nasa puso mo, sundin mo.
Grabe yung sex bomb na yan, no?
Grabe yung impluensya ng sex
Oo.
bomb sa akin. No?
Pinaghuhugutan mo yan ng mga moral lessons.
So yan,
Sex
kung ano
bomb
nasa puso mo,
studies.
Oo.
sundin mo. Pero yun, LIS in general opened a lot of opportunities for me. So hindi lang siya, kung nakikita nyo, hindi lang ako school librarian, hindi lang ako knowledge manager, hindi lang din ako storyteller, but now I'm in the academe na rin. So it opens a lot of opportunity. So ayun, and it's not just the stereotype na you borrow and you lend books. It's part of it. It's valid, and we acknowledge that it's part of it. Pero don't pigeonhole yourself to that. There's lots of opportunities out there for us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Darrel. So nababanggit mo, no, willing ka na to teach. No, or kunyari, uuwi ka pa ba ng Pilipinas? Talagang ang dami ko nang tanong. Tingnan na lang natin.
Si Randolf po muna. Si Randolf
So
muna.
magkukunin natin,
Off the record po ba to?
Sige. Thank you, Darrel. At salamat sa sex bomb. Talagang inspirasyon mo sila. Okay. Randolph, ikaw naman, RD.
Sex bomb na rin tayo.
Oh. Mga lessons from sex bomb.
Yeah.
Grabe.
Siguro po sa akin, inisip ko ngayon, nagpa-flashback ako. Siguro you have to navigate your career path as a, let's say for example, if you're a fresh grad in bachelor's or master's degree, especially if you're just fresh grad in UPSLIS, you have to navigate your career path. What do you want? What do you want to do in your life? Tapos ano ba yung nagmo-motivate sa'yo to pursue that career? At maraming career na pwedeng i-pursue ang mga graduates ng UPSLIS kasi very interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. We can be a social worker, we could be a public relations officer, we could be a diplomat, we could do anything that we want that is related to information studies. And sa akin po, experience ko, I really put my path in the special library because I feel like it's very for me, wala na akong bias sa iba't ibang mga libraries, pero ang bias ko talaga special kasi special child ako, joke. Hindi, special. Hindi, magagalit yung mga teacher ko sa UP ko, ganyan sagot mo. Ba't ka nagbabasa? Kasi may liga ko sa, I love reading books, ganyan, di ba? Bakit nag-kayo pa sa SLIS? Siguro sa akin, special library kasi very, ano man tawag doon, yung parang ang daming directions, marami kang
Yeah.
pwedeng puntahan.
It's multidisciplinary.
Oo, kasi when you say special library, marami. Pwede ka nasa law, medical, pwede ka sa government, pwede ka sa anything that you want. And I find it really interesting. Tapos very organic kasi yung work kapag special library. Kapag library ka kasi, you also work with the let's say for example, nag-internship ako kay Rhea sa Mayo Inotech. Ang dami ko na experience na parang you work with the international organization and then you just not working in the library itself, but you're supporting the research, you're supporting the educational aspect of that organization. And especially, you're supporting the information needs of that organization. So parang ganun yung tingin ko ngayon sa library na yung library and information section of the special library supports the organization, supports, hindi katulad ng sa academic and public, you support the organization and you support the public. Sa special talaga, you support the organization to work with. So parang being interested ako doon na nag-internship ako sa Mayo na parang ang saya na special library. Kasi hindi ka lang nababox doon sa yung world ng public library at academic library. So I try to venture on that. And then I find it really interesting. So nag-continue ako, I work with Korean Cultural Center. Sabi ko nga doon ako, hindi ko naramdaman na librarian ako kasi we started the Korean Cultural Center way back 2011. And then ang mga programs namin, Korean cooking, where we have this K-pop programs. Tapos nag-offer kami ng mga language classes and cultural classes. And then my role there as a library and information coordinator is to support what they need. So kunyari kailangan nila ng resources about Korean cooking, I need to find books about that, and then that to share to the clientele and to share to the other coordinators like program coordinators na nag-work on that program. So I support people. So I find it, yun yung parang naging career part ko, yung support. Parang mahilig ako mag-support ng mga ganitong mga initiatives. And when I joined the US Embassy, social worker naman ako doon. So na parang doon ko na naramdaman na you are promoting the SDG, you're promoting this, may mga country goals kayo na supporting economic development and yung educational development ng Philippines through US taxpayers money, using taxpayers money ng Amerika. So parang ang saya ng trabaho ko actually. Tapos napunta ako sa PhD, doon naging malungkot actually kasi very limited na yung field mo, and kasi mas marami ako namimit na tao nung nag-work ako on this kind of special libraries. And when you choose to pursue further studies, especially PhD, very specialized na. Although magandang advantage yun, sabi nga ng supervisor ko, sabi ko sa kanya, ba't mo ako pinili? Kasi marami naman, kasi dito kasi sa Norway, makikita mo kung sino yung nag-apply. So, ipopost nila yon, may list yon ng 1 to 8 kami nun na napili. I-list down nila kung ano yung kung ano yung CV mo, kung ano ka, ano ginagawa mo. So, ang gagaling ng mga nag-a-apply, and sabi ko, ba't mo ako pinili? Nung close na kami ng supervisor ko. Sabi niya kasi sa akin, kasi daw, may mga experience daw ako sa ganitong field of study. And it's really important that you have to become a practitioner para at least na-experience mo yung ganitong field. And when you study it, you get that perspective of that library practitioner. And you write it in a research paper. And doon ko rin oo nga, siguro mas maganda din yung nagkaroon ako ng experience as a practitioner kasi it helps me to craft my research questions, and it helps me to craft kung ano yung tatanong ko sa mga respondents. Kasi I've also become a research respondent before I started this PhD path. So yun. And also, kapag, nasagot ko rin ba yung tanong?
Actually, ang ano naman ay kwentuhan.
Hindi ko na naiintindihan
Hindi naman
yung
to exam.
sinasabi
Hindi
ko.
naman to exam.
Oo, ayun.
Masyado na sila sagot ko ba?
So yun po, parang I put my shoes as a library practitioner and working in a research environment, which is also cool kasi wala akong ganitong skills at ngayon lang nagugulat ako, nasashock ako kasi ang alam kong thesis yung monograph, yung ibabind mo, ibookbind mo. Ang thesis sa PhD, it's article based. So you have to produce papers and you have to publish a paper in a high impact journal, ganyan. So hindi ko siya naiintindihan nung pumasok ako. So yun po, kaya sabi ko nga kapag gusto niyo pong PhD yung mga audience natin out there, you have to prepare yourself na kapag PhD, you have to go to the academia. You don't have any choice at all. And there's such thing also as overqualified. And ito yung mga na-experience ng mga PhD na graduates, yun yung problema nila. Kasi after the PhD and then you apply to the real world as library practitioner, they get they get disappointed kasi hindi sila natatanggap. Kasi ang sinasabi ng employer sa kanila, even in Europe, sinasabi ng employer sa kanila, I think you're already overqualified. I think, kasi yung nag-employ sa'yo, PhD, master's lang yung graduate niya, tapos PhD ka, ganyan. So, hindi natatanggap minsan sa work yung mga PhD students at mas natatanggap pa yung mga master students kasi they have the right skills for that job. Unlike pag PhD, lumiliit talaga yung mundo mo at ang mundo mo na talaga academia kasi there's a chance na ma-overqualified ka for that position. Kasi sabihin nila, I think you are overqualified for this position. We don't want research. Hindi ganito yung path namin. We just want a person who have the skills that took a master's degree. Parang ganyan po. So ganun yung mga dilemma actually, challenges. So I think that will be my problem soon siguro pag matapos na ako sa program ko.
Pero Randolph, also, in the Philippines, kasi requirement na actually, or mas preferred nila, di ba, na sa academic library specifically, if you are going to, lalo na if you will be holding a high position, let's say director level, university librarian level, they would prefer you to have a PhD. Oo. So these practitioners, no, not necessarily teaching, pero nire-require na rin siya. So, ang interesting, no? Pero I understand your
This is
explanation.
the European case po.
Oo,
Kasi
pero-
very practical sila dito. Once you finish your masters, you're done. So pag PhD talaga, parang ang tingin nila, kailangan research field ka na. Or kung mag-work ka man, for the practical side, you have to be in a research and development department.
Right. Pero tama naman kasi talagang, 'di ba, pag practitioner, minsan okay na muna tayo sa master's level, 'di ba? Yun yung sinasabi ni Darrel. Pero sige. Okay, yung si Dan naman.
Pag-usapan naman natin yung transition from being, yun nga, sabi nyo, from being a practicing librarian to someone who is now part of the academe, doing scholarship. Contemporary ko po kasi itong dalawang to. Ako, si Janny, si Randolph, si Darrel, friends, sabay-sabay po kami gumraduate niyan. And to be honest, ang ganda nung naging career trajectory nitong dalawang to. Kasi ang dami nilang organizations na napagdaanan. Ang dami nilang libraries na manage. So yun yung gusto kong alamin sa kanila ngayon. What is it about your experience in managing a library that push you to have that need na parang gusto kong mag-pursue ng graduate studies. I know si Darrel kanina na mention na niya, ano kasi yung passion niya for literacy, for reading, and nasamahan ng konting disappointment.
Sex ba? Kala ko sex ba?
si Randolph, ang dami niyang na-meet na tao, ang dami niyang na-meet na, ang dami niyang naging hat, ang dami niyang naisuot na hat while doing his practice. So, ano yung mga nag-trigger sa inyo yung practice nung nagmamanage kayo ng mga library para mag-decide na I'm going towards the other direction. Kasi sabi niyo nga, practice and scholarship is totally different. So ano yung mga nag-trigger sa inyo from practice na, hindi, I'm deciding na I'm leaving muna my practice to pursue a higher degree.
Siguro sa akin, yung sabi ko ni Darrel, napagod kasi ako. May ASLP pa ako noon. Ang dami ko talagang hat na nag-ASLP, may professional organizations, and at the same time you are also working as a social worker na ang dami mong mga programs in the library. Napagod ako, tapos sabi ko baka gusto ko ng new environment. So I think it's a human instinct na sometimes we just want a new environment. We want change. Actually wala ako masyado na parang wala ako talaga yung parang further studies pa na naisip nun. Parang bigla na lang ako nag-apply dun sa program kasi napagod nga ako.
Ang taray, tapos natanggap.
Pero parang I think if I'll go back to my decision, I feel like if masaya ako sa work ko, masaya ako as a practitioner. Lumungkot lang na nag-PhD na ako kasi ang hirap talaga niya. Sa totoo lang guys, hindi para biro, kailangan mo ng extra mile at kailangan mong kausapin yung sarili mo na kaya mo to, na kahit na hindi mo na kaya, kakayanin mo, ganyan. Laban lang, sabi nga ni Darrel, sex bomb friend. So yun, siguro tapos parang, di ba yung makerspace, yun yung aking passion nung umalis ako ng Philippines. Parang walang nakakaintindi sa akin. Parang, alam mo yun, syempre bago yung field, di ba? Although kapag na-meet mo yung iba't ibang librarians sa Philippines, they're talking about this kind of managing of libraries, ganyan. Sa akin, managing of makerspaces, parang wala nakakaintindi sa'yo. Yung parang may ganun akong feel na wala masyadong nag-expert sa Philippines about this makerspaces and all of its stuff. So you have to find a group or a circle that understands you. And that motivates me actually to go further abroad, overseas. Kasi parang feeling ko may mga taong maiintindihan nila yung experience mo as a makerspace manager and all that stuff. But wait, there's more. Hindi pala. Kasi research pala talaga ang PhD. Tsaka akala ko dati madaming travel pag PhD. Feeling ko mas marami pa ako travel nung nasa Philippines ako na parang kasi you work as a social worker, so lipad ka dito and doon. Ngayon wala, lilipad ka lang papunta ng office mo, ganyan, para magsulat.
Pero may lockdown din, to be fair.
May lockdown din, so kaya wala din masyadong travel. Pero maku-culture shock ka talaga pag PhD and you have to prepare yourself. At feeling ko kapag nasa academia ka na, very smooth yung transition kasi you're teaching and you're already doing research. At sabi nga nila, ang PhD is an entry-level position. It means that it prepares you for a bigger, role in the academia. And there's no, parang hindi masama na you go back again. Kasi bumalik ako sa scratch talaga na I started this, kasi hindi ko masyadong nagamit yung mga ginawa ko sa practical field. I started really in the very bottom. At kailangan mo talagang, you have to understand the environment and you have to accept the fact na kailangan mo siyang gawin. Kasi kailangan mo graduate kasi may funding ka, tapos yung funding mo, pag naubos na yon, good luck sa'yo. Ganun na lang ang aking mindset ngayon.
Randolph, hindi mo nadala yung mga ginagawa mo dati as a practicing librarian sa PhD, but I'm assuming nakakahugot ka ng content.
Oo, may hugot. Tama Dan. Oo. I agree with you.
Maganda rin na before ka mag-pursue ng isang graduate studies,
Yeah.
nakapag-practice ka, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yun yung hugot ko na parang naiintindihan mo yung perspective ng mga respondents. Kasi you are respondent din ako during my time as a practitioner. And also, yun, dadagdagan mo na lang siya ng mga ontological, epistemological stances, what is your position in this theoretical, world, ganyan. Siguro dadagdagan mo na lang ng iba't ibang mga klaseng mga theoretical academic jargons. apart from your experiences as working in the library. Pero ang pinakamahirap na part talaga is yung pagsusulat. Ang hirap niya kasi katulad niyan, kausap ko si Ma'am Rhea, ngayon nagsusulat kasi kami ni Ma'am Rhea ngayon. So parang yung pag-submit mo ng paper sa isang journal, it goes back and forth yung revision. So parang mawawalan ka ng magkakaroon ka ng self-doubt. Bakit ganun? Parang, ano ba? Parang, ganun ka ba ako kabobo? Ganyan. yung mga magkakaroon ka talaga ng self-doubt when you submitted the paper in a journal. Kasi ang bibigat ng mga reviewers' comments. And you have to meet those comments and you have to answer, respond to those comments, at you have to defend your theoretical position para maintindihan nila kung saan ka nanggagaling. And yun yung mga culture shock sa akin kasi hindi ko siya na-experience when I was working in the US Embassy and also in Korean Cultural Center. Kasi ano lang ako, daldal ng mga programs, pero ngayon hindi mo na siya pwedeng daldalin. And you have to justify what you're saying through a theoretical perspective, mga ganyan. So yun lang yung nagugulat ako.
Something na nakuha ko between what you said, Randolph, and yung sinabi ni Darrel is medyo naging factor yung pagiging mahirap ng trabaho or nalungkot kayo at some point dun sa trabaho nyo kaya naghanap kayo ng iba.
Yun talaga yung moral lesson of the story.
Naghanap kayo ng different. So, tumbukin ko na yung issue na yun. Mahirap bang mag-manage ng library sa Pilipinas? Mahirap bang maging isang library manager sa Pilipinas? So, balik ko kay Darrel.
Hala.
Napaisip din ako sa tanong ni Dan. Dan, ba't mo naman kami pinahihirap?
Hindi ako ready. Ibang sagot yung nire-ready ko eh.
Yan yung mga surprise follow-up questions.
Pero sabihin ko muna yung sagot ko kanina.
Randolph.
Yung trigger ko, almost the same din kay Randolph talaga. Tapos I was looking for an explanation of things. Kasi very practical nga si library science field and also yung approach sa storytelling sa Pilipinas and children's literature. Attack lang, ganyan, sabak agad, laban agad. So for me, siguro I was looking for an explanation for a theorizing yung kung bakit natin to ginagawa ganyan. Parang I wanted to take a step back na bakit ba natin to ginagawa? Bakit attack tayo ng attack tapos kulang tayo sa theorizing. Ayan. Anyway, going to the question of Dan, kung mahirap bang mag-manage ng, for my case, school library sa Pilipinas, yes. Yes. One of the biggest hurdles for me back then siguro was the budget. Kasi usually, although private schools to sa Lasal and sa Xavier School New Valley, pero you still have to negotiate about your budget. Always have to negotiate about your budget. To be fair, kay LaSalle Zubel, medyo madulas yung budget sa LaSalle Zubel. So madaling mag-request. Pero yun nga, yung context ko kasi, these are private schools. So at least medyo medyo manageable, at least medyo manageable. Ang pinaka nahirapan akong i-manage was the School Library of Pagsawitan kasi di ba Sir Dan yung for my thesis sa masters, I had to create a library in Pagsawitan Elementary School. So it's a public school in Laguna. Di ba ang tinuturo sa atin, the library is an ecosystem. So hindi siya silo. It does not live in a silo. Hindi siya warehouse din na tambakan lang ng libro. Kumbaga, there are so many actors involved. And as a librarian, you're one of them. The library is also one of the actors. Yung experience ko sa Pagsawitan Elementary School, I had to plan and manage together with the principal. So, alam mo yun, dapat clear din yung goals mo with the principal and also with the entire school. Kung ano yung gusto nyo maging sa library. Kasi ang naging setup ko noon, hindi ko kayang bantayan yung library ng ako kasi hindi naman nila ako librarian. So, ang ginawa ni principal na si Ma'am Amy, very supportive siya. nag-assign siya ng mga teachers na pwedeng magbantay ng library. Pero yun din, kailangan mong i-orient si teachers na the basics of librarianship. Hindi mo man sila maitawid sa cataloging and classification, at least siguro yung reference and circulation, ma-orient mo sila na kung papaano ba yung reference and circulation. So yun, so my first point was budget. This time yung manpower, kasi mag-isa nga ako. So nag-call lang help si principal. Tapos after that naman, I also needed to talk with, kasi kulang sa resources yung library. And we realized the potential of library hubs ni DepEd. Pero ang problem kay DepEd, and listen DepEd, ang lalayo ng library hubs nila. So yeah, they put up library hubs na ang layo. 'Di ba yung library dapat nasa center siya para it's easily accessible by everyone and anyone anytime sana. Kaso yun nga, yung sa Laguna, Sir Dan, yung sa Santa Cruz, Laguna, ang layo niya. We needed to drive papunta doon. So imagine, pero at least si Storytelling Project kasi yung partner ko dito, very supportive si Storytelling Project. So nanghiram kami ng books dun sa library hub. So yun, and also the you need to, kasi I built the library from scratch. So you also need even just pen and paper system para yung borrowing ng mga bata. Kasi you also need to develop the cadence sa mga bata. Yung paano sila mag-borrow and mag-return. Yung habit, that habit. So yun, kasi nagpo-promote, the reason why, going back to the reason why, bakit ako nag-set up ng library, kasi it's a storytelling project. And the goal of the project was for the kids na mas maengganyo silang magbasa. But then, paano sila maengganyo magbasa kung wala silang babasahin? So yun, mahirap mag-manage ng library, but it's not impossible. So I think that's my point is it's a system. The management of a library is an ecosystem. You have the library, as at least this is in school librarian context. You have you as the librarian, as an actor. There's also the library in itself as the actor. Tapos you have the DepEd. You have the parents. Parents are very important. They're very important partners sa development ng reading ng mga bata. So dapat matap mo rin sila, and I also tap the LGU. So hindi siya ikaw lang. When you manage a library, hindi ka nag-iisa. In the sense na hindi ka dapat mag-decide ng ikaw lang. Kumbaga, it's a system. So yun, yeah, my conclusion is mahirap mag-manage ng library, but it's not impossible. So yun.
Ayan. Sinulat ko na yung akin para hindi ako nawawala. Kasi feeling ko daldal ako na.
Oo nga, chika ng chika.
Chika ng chika. So, yung first na question ni Dan is kung mahirap ba yung mag-manage ng library sa Philippines. It depends. In a special library case, because I feel like in a special library, you have to have two skills. You have the technical skills and you have the soft skills. Technical skills, we already studied that in UPSLIS. Soft skills, kailangan mo siyang i-unleash. Parang sex bomb na in-unleash ni Darrel when nandito na siya sa Europe. So, kailangan mo talaga i-unleash yung soft skills na yon, meaning you have to be a good communicator. You have to negotiate. And you have to be a good negotiator and active listener. Meaning, hindi lang basta daldal ka lang, kundi kailangan mo maging active listener with the people that you're working in the organization and the people who needs the information that you want to serve them, para at least ma-meet mo yung expectation ng organization, ma-meet mo yung expectation ng public needs o kung sino man yung gumagamit ng resources. So yun, good communicator ka dapat at ma-negotiate mo yung budget, ma-negotiate mo to, yung programs na to, why is this important? Yeah, the importance of why. Kasi yan lagi ang tanong. Laging tanong ng public affairs officer ko when I was in the US Embassy, why do we need this storytelling? Why do we need this outreach, book outreach sa ganitong place in Mindanao? You have to justify it and you have to negotiate it with your supervisor para ma-approve yung program mo. And those are the things that I didn't really learn from school in the university. I learned it through like experience, and I learned it through time. At na kung titingin ka sa iba't ibang mga programs, and you have to defend it. It's like thesis. You have to defend your program sa mga stakeholders. And also, ayan, titingnan ko yung mga, kasi nagsusulat na ako ngayon. Yung sa transition, kung nahirapan ako, yes, nahirapan ako. Kasi wala akong research background when I started the PhD. But if the question is if I will pursue academia, I think my answer is there's no turning back. I feel like academia is now my ecosystem. Kasi I feel like there's a lot of stories to be told in research. Napansin ko kasi maraming conferences, there's a lot of conferences happening, especially in the Philippines. But after that conference, walang concrete basta walang concrete na nangyari. Sige, this is what I'm doing, this is my case study, this is my best practices, this is my benchmark. Hugot ko lang to guys ha. Walang concrete na nangyayari doon sa mga programs na sinasabi ng mga tao because it was not written. It was not written in research. Meaning walang book na naganap, walang output, research output na naganap. And I feel like research dissemination is really important. And those are the things that I've learned here in my PhD because research dissemination is one of our subjects na very, very important. You will not only disseminate your research through journal articles, but you should be able to disseminate your research through wider audiences and other stakeholders. Meaning, you have to communicate, you have to convert those academic jargons into practical examples so the wider audiences would be able to understand you and would be able to understand your research is important to the wider audiences. So those are the things na parang naintindihan ko na parang, okay, meron din palang may research, what do you call this, parang public relations skills ang mga academia ngayon. And I think it's evolving kasi during the past years, during the last decade, I believe that maraming mga academia nakabox lang sa department nila. They're theorizing whatever they want to theorize on. Pero ngayon iba na ang mga academia, iba na ang mga professors. They're trying to reach out to the academia, especially in my school, in my university in Norway. It's really important because you're funded by the government, and this research should, benefit the wider audiences. And those are the things that I really want. And kaya sabi ko nga, there's no turning back. Hindi na ako. Kung babalik ako kung walang tumanggap sa akin sa academia, sige, babalik tayo sa practitioner's field. Pero kapag may tumanggap sa akin sa academia, I think I will pursue it because I think we have a bigger role to do. And I think, Miss Universe na agad, yung mga sagot. I think, and I believe that I could change the world through research dissemination. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking po of yung shift from the management, kasi nagka-management positions kayo before you move to the academia. So I would like to ask you na for those people na nandito pa sa Pilipinas and napag-usapan na rin naman natin kung gaano kahirap mag-manage dito sa Pilipinas, would you do you think that it is important for librarians who are in management position ngayon to pursue further education? Or do you think meron ba siyang advantages and disadvantages? And ituloy ko na rin para isang bagsakan na siya na if ever na you think that kailangan nila mag-pursue ng further education, do you think it should be like PhD or Masters ng LIS, or should they take something na from another field? Sir Darrel, siguro?
Hala, wait lang. Ninonote ko.
Pahirap yung mga question.
Oo nga.
Hindi ko naman alam na thesis defense pala.
Nasa difficult round na tayo.
Tapos na yung topic ko. Hindi pa tapos.
Akala ko fun lang to, hindi na to fun na.
Para daily basis ninyo.
Parang LIS wizard na, Darrel, no? Kayo ni
Difficult.
Dan.
Oo nga,
Oo
ma'am.
nga.
Oo.
Nasa difficult round na
Nasa
tayo.
difficult round. Di bale, nanalo naman kayo ni Dan.
Yes.
For 100 remains, difficult round.
Oo.
Advantage.
Kaya
Tama.
nagno-note.
Opo. Para masagot
Sige,
natin ang...
Sige, ako muna,
sige, go,
Darrel,
Randolph.
para
Sige,
ano,
sige.
you prepare. Siguro, advantage of taking, I mean, I'm not talking about master's or PhD. I'm talking about postgraduate, pursuing postgraduate studies. It's important. It's because research-wise, I think if you are in a higher level position, a managing position, you have to be able to do research. Kung hindi man ikaw yung gagawa ng research dahil ikaw ay undersecretary na, you should know how to communicate what you want to communicate with your constituents through research. Kasi yan yung binabasa. Yan yung binabasa ng academia, yan yung binabasa. Yan yung nako-communicate sa popular dissemination like newspapers, social media. And before this scientist post anything about COVID-19, these things, nag-start yan sa research. At kung ano man yung disseminate sa newspaper, kung ano man yung disseminate sa social media, it started on research. And I feel like the higher level position, if you're in the managerial position in the Philippines, you have to know how to do research. And I think na pag nag-postgraduate study ka, either master's or PhD, you would be able to hone that skill, research skills. That's why it's important.
Thank you, Sir Randolph. Sir Darrel?
Siguro dagdag ko na lang din doon kay Randolph, yung importance ng documentation bilang nasa LS field tayo. Kasi yun nga, yung sabi ni Randolph kanina, yung hugot niya sa conferences, ang dami nating chika, ang daming pasa-pasa ng best practices, pero walang concrete documentation. So, di ba, important kasi yung documentation kasi this leads us to our goal. Siguro, ano rin siya, connected din siya to our reading culture na bakit ba hindi kumbaga hindi natin nakikita yung importance ng documentation. Kasi hindi rin natin nakikita yung importance ng pagbabasa. Na yun yung, it's the cycle of reading and documentation. The cycle of reading and writing, the very basic skills of reading and writing. And at the same time, should they pursue further studies, yung mga nasa management skills? I think that they should, especially kung very practical na yung field nila, in order for them, one, to theorize what they are doing, and at the same time, in order for them to learn something new. Not in the sense na anything new under the sun, but something na new in their field. Kumbaga yung bago nilang may apply sa field nila. Advantages and disadvantages, yun, advantage na yun yung may matututunan ka and at the same time, mati-theorize mo. Siguro, the disadvantage would be, actually, may disadvantage pang further study. Ano lang, siguro, yung, hindi siya disadvantage, but more of yung paradigm shift niya. Kasi coming from a practical field to an academic field, minsan, it's a big challenge pa rin for me how to write academic papers. Yun yung isa sa big challenges. Hindi siya, but I wouldn't consider it a disadvantage kasi magagamit mo rin naman siya eventually.
Yeah, true.
Tapos which degree? I believe not necessarily LIS siguro, not necessarily. Pero kung yun nga, kung ano yung nasa puso mo, sundin mo. Kasi kung gustuin mo mang mag-MLIS pero wala naman din yung passion mo, kumbaga, ang hirap ding i-pursue ng study. So kung ano yung passion mo, follow it. Pero yung question mo ba more on in library fields, kung kailangan nila mag-MLIS?
Opo. If kung sa tingin niyo po is tawag din, dapat sila mag-further studies, do you think na dapat under pa rin ng LIS or do you think na other fields naman yung kunin nila for further studies?
I think mas maganda na parang specialization, like what I did na I branch out into children's literature. Kasi in that way din, yung field natin sa SLIS in specifically, kumbaga, Randolph and I can contribute new ideas to our university. So yun, yung knowledge exchange pa rin talaga. Tapos yun, in the end, yun the importance of reading and writing, and then mag-breakthrough ng new innovations, tapos maipasa sa future generations yung importance nitong mga ginagawa natin, the documentation talaga and archiving of things.
Ayan, so thank you Randolph and Darrel. Ang nakuha ko dun, sobrang kapag ka nasa field ka na natin and medyo nagiging at ease ka na doon sa field, no? Continue with the postgraduate studies, no? So kailangan yon, sabi nga ni Darrel, to complete the cycle of writing, reading, and writing again, documentation, and all that thing, no? Pero for the both of you, no, Randolph and Darrel, siguro kahit sino nang mauna, since sabi nga natin, ini-encourage natin na our librarians or the librarians in the Philippines in general should take yung postgraduate degree, no? So, ano kaya yung ma-recommend nyo sa mga librarians natin sa Pilipinas na interesadong kumuha ng isang postgraduate degree, may it be a PhD degree or a master's degree? Ano kaya yung pwede nyo i-recommend sa kanila?
Mahimik.
Ang hirap.
May recommendations na lang.
The difficult test question na. Difficult test question.
Difficult na.
Kasi,
Yeah.
first you have to understand the context of the Philippine system siguro muna. Kasi minsan, to be honest, I come from that privileged point of view rin. I come from a UP context na I studied all these theories, all these management skills. But I think, yun nga, di ba pag nagko-conference tayo sa ASLP Randolph, for example, we go back to the basics pa rin. Kasi marami pa rin librarians na hirap silang i-grasp yung, hindi naman hirap, but instead, these are something new for them. Yung mga bagong, kumbaga si UP, advanced na yung tinuturo. Pero when it comes to conferences and seminars, we still go back to the basics. Kagaya nung before I graduated nung undergrad ko, I realized the trend of librarian organization. Sabi ko, bakit lagi na lang cataloging, lagi na lang RDA, lagi na lang management? Pero ganun pala, when you dip your feet into the field, makikita mo na kaya pala. Kasi we have to teach them the basics first before we go to the difficult. So yun, siguro it's still good for them to take up masters in library and information science to hone their skills more in terms of LAS skills. Tapos for those for those librarians, library and information professionals who think that, you know, I've had enough of library and information science skills that I could take, pwede na silang mag-branch out. At least for me in my field, what I like to recommend are, for example, reading education under the College of Education. They also have EdTech, educational technology. Tapos maganda rin yung program ng TMC Technology Management Center kasi kumbaga link pa rin doon yung LIS. Although very interdisciplinary nga kasi talaga si LIS. Kasi look at my program ngayon, 'di ba? Children's Literature, Media and Culture na sumasanga na naman into film, into other fields. So yun, siguro for people who think that what they've learned is not yet enough in terms of library information science, I would definitely recommend taking up an MLAS course in UP and with other universities too, like UST. Sino pa bang may MLAS courses? Anyway.
ENU.
ENU, yeah.
Oo, marami.
So yeah, and my hope is, alam mo yung pag-take natin ng courses is not just to satisfy requirements, but first and foremost, satisfy yourself. the requirements of yourself na mas matuto pa, na hindi lang sana siya for PASCU or PACOCOA accreditation, but instead, para mas matuto tayo for ourselves and at the same time, para mas maserve natin ng better yung clientele natin. So, yun. So, yeah, go take up MLIS, and if you think you're good already with library information science and kung ano yung nasa puso nyo, sundin nyo. There's reading education, TMC. Kung gusto nyo mag-anthropology, which is also related to LIS, pwede rin. Art studies. So it's endless. The possibilities are endless. Pero yun, this is still coming from a very privileged point of view. So yun.
Thank you, Darrel, no? Grabe. Grabe yung sinabi ni Darrel. Gusto ko yun, yung tipong point of view na kung magpupursue ka ng postgraduate, know yourself better muna, no? Para malaman mo kung saan ka talaga dadalhin ng agos, no? Para ikaw, Randolph, ano kayang pwedeng ma-recommend mo sa ating mga librarian na gusto mag-take ng postgraduate degree?
Kasi tinitingnan ko yung context dito sa Norway and how could I share that to the Philippine context. What I realized here is that those who are working in documentation centers or library information centers, very kasi collaborative ng schools dito. What I realize is that sometimes I don't know if I'm already affiliated with UIT. Sometimes I'm affiliated with UIB, the University of Bergen, and Oslomet University, because all of them are collaborating with each other. All the LIS schools are collaborating with each other. So the availability of courses is very accessible. Kasi kunyari wala si UIT ng ganitong course, sasabihin sa akin ng supervisor ko, you have to go to Oslomet to get that course. So they have this specialization. Hindi sila pare-parehas ng specialization. They have their own specialization that cater the needs of the LIS students. That means that you could take your course in UIB, in UIO, University of Oslo, in Oslomet, or even in Finland or even in Sweden. So they have this. So yung courses ko, kung titignan mo yung coursework ko, meron akong 2 course sa Oslomet, may isa akong course sa UIB, may isa akong course sa Uppsala University in Sweden. So kinukuha ko, tapos yun, na-accredit siya dito sa UIT kasi wala ditong program nun or walang specific coursework na available nun. So the availability of the LIS courses is very accessible to the students. So that's why it's easier for them. Whenever you are kahit na nasa dulo ka ng Norway, you would be able to finish your program kasi pwede mo siyang kunin sa iba't ibang schools na merong ganong program or nag-specialize ng ganong program. So I think my question now is, I'm tweaking it, like what would be my recommendation for the LA schools? I think doon na frame yung aking kasi I think kung nasagot na ni Darrel yung ano yung pwede natin recommendations for the student. Sometimes the student doesn't know what to start on. Hindi nila alam kung sa mag-start. I think my recommendation right now is for the schools kasi tayo nakakaalam nung program na kailangan ng mga estudyante. So I think yun, collaboration with the schools, so mas madaling makakuha ng coursework, and also maximize the use of the online platform. I mean, here, kahit na to before ng pandemya, I could take my course online in the school, and I could accredit it here in my school. So it means that I could still graduate in my own school, getting other coursework in other schools online. So it means very accessible. Madali ko siyang ma-accredit kasi pare-pareha sila ng standard. So they follow a same standard of LIS program. So mas madali for the students to adjust. So I think the question now is the availability of the courses. And some of when I was working at the US Embassy, there's a lot of librarians in Mindanao. And there's limited number of LIS schools available for them because they don't want to fly to Manila or going to NCR just to finish their postgraduate studies. And the problem now is that they don't want to leave their families and they don't want to leave their work there because they have their stable jobs there. back home, I'm back in Mindanao. So those are the contemplating na nag-iisip sila. Ang nakausap ko ngayon, iba't ibang mga librarians sa Tawi-Tawi, sa Buanga. Ang sabi nila sa akin, even sa Marawi, sabi nila sa akin, gusto man namin na mag-take ng course, tapusin to postgraduate, but we don't have a choice. We will just get something that is available in our environment right now, in our physical environment. Kasi hindi sila pwedeng lumuwas lang sa NCR to get those LAS courses kasi hindi pa siya online. So I think we have to maximize. And now that we are adjusting in the pandemic world, that we are now, everything is so normal to us to be online right now. And I feel like we have to maximize that. Online courses. So we would be able to reach out to more students and they would be able to finish their LAS program. Because there's a lot of, yun yung nakikita ko reality. There's a lot of librarians na gustong-gusto talagang mag-postgraduate study. But due to the unavailability and time, and like, yung constraint na yun yung naghihinder sa kanila not to pursue MLS program or even other further studies. So, sorry, na-frame ko, na iba yung frame ko dun sa question. Because I think na yung mga gusto mag-MLS, hindi nila masyadong naiisip paano ba, minsan kasi nag-MLS ako, hindi ko naman naisip bakit ba gusto ko mag-MLS. Parang nag-enroll na lang ako kasi para for further studies nga, ganun. Pero I think as yung perspective naman as an educator, nakikita ko na we have a bigger role on this. Kasi tayo yung nag-shape nung program. And kaya nagiging ganito yung environment ng mga students. So I think yun. Kaya naiba yung answer ko, sorry.
Hindi lang, Randolph, actually. Na-appreciate ko ngayon yung sagot mo na hindi lang natin na-limit yung recommendation to those librarian na gustong mag-take ng postgraduate studies, but rather may part din dito yung mga educational sector na meron tayo sa Philippines. So napakagandang sagot, and I hope I'm on that side na aantayin ko yung time na lahat ng school sa Philippines will have yung kagaya nung sa inyo na they can take courses from other school and it will be credited kasi malino naman talaga na marami tayong deficiency here sa Pilipinas and may mga subject na pwede may offer sa ibang school na wala sa ibang school, and I think that's the way to go, na i-credit mo from another school para at least makuha niya kung anong kailangan niya, and ang magbe-benefit naman ito is hindi lang yung school but rather the librarian and syempre yung mga clientele nila dahil may implement nila mas maganda yung mga service.
And just to add on that, it's the same with the libraries. They have this document delivery, right? Sometimes you don't have all the skills, you don't have all the resources to support the student. So you have to collaborate and you have to have this network, standardized network, for you to be able to serve your clientele or the students as well.
Yes.
Ayan. So, balik na po tayo sa, ready na po ba kayo sa final question?
Mahirap ba to?
Tiebreaker.
Wala, natuyot na po yung kape ko, guys.
According to the paradigm inherent in ang final question po natin sa coffee break ay, given na ako ay nagtsatsaa sa coffee break, ano po ang inyong choice of drink? Usually pag nag-aaral or nag-research or nag-chill lang, ano po yung paborito ninyong iniinom? Sir Randolph?
Ako talaga kape. Talaga kailangan mo talaga siya kailangan mo ng kape. Siguro nakaka 3 times ako ng kape, and not just coffee. Natuto ko dito na uminom ng totoong kape. Like hindi lang yung sa atin kasi 3-in-1, yung white, blanco, ganyan lagi iniinom ko sa Pilipinas. Dito, I think I natuto ko uminom ng espresso, ng profondo, ng mas matapang na kailangan kaya ka ipaglaban sa research mo. Ganon. So, yun na lang. So yun, kape talaga. Filtered coffee and espresso. Those are my favorite.
Kayo, Sir Darrel?
Water.
Wow.
Actually, tubig lang talaga to. Pero way back in the Philippines, mahilig ako magkape. Kaso dito, pag lilipat ko ng Europa, nagkaroon ako ng GERD. So, malalang hyperacidity. So, yon, goodbye coffee na talaga siya. Ayun. Kaya ngayon, water lang. Tapos, minsan smoothie, minsan water. Minsan.
Oo.
Yun.
And
Yogurt, ganyan.
sobrang nakaka-relate ako dun kasi may GERD din po ako. Uncaffeinated tea naman sa akin.
Mm.
Hindi ko maiwasan yung mainit eh. Pero for those coffee drinkers out there, we would like to thank our sponsors, our coffee sponsor, Cafe Moksha. Cafe Moksha is a distributor and retailer of coffee and cacao products and they ship nationwide and worldwide. So yun po, check po natin sila.
Yan. Thank you so much ha, Darrel. And
Yes
tapos
po.
na yung difficult
Salamat.
ang question.
Salamat.
Medyo nakahinga na ako eh. Actually, nagising ako hindi dahil sa kape. Nagising ako sa mga
Mga
questions.
tanong.
Yung yes.
Sabi
I-relate
ni Ma'am
talaga
Rhea,
namin sa
kwentuhan lang to.
Oo, o diba? Kwentuhan na lang.
Chikahan lang eh.
Thesis
Hindi naman po
defense.
graded.
Oo, ang next question, natutuwa nga ako na naiisip nyo. Kasi gano'n naman talaga yung graduate studies, di ba? Research siya, lalo na sa PhD level. So kaya nga ang next question dyan, kayo ba ay babalik?
Oo.
Babalik ng
Off the
Pilipinas?
record na po ba to?
Oo, malapit na.
Okay, pero
Talaga.
Ayan, time na.
Ayun na. So,
Saved by the bell ka.
Oo,
ah.
saved by the bell silang
Mga off
dalawa.
the record yung sagot.
Literal na naging off the record yung dapat na isasagot ni Randolph
Oo.
at ni Darrel. And by the way, Randolph and Darrel, thank you very much.
Thank you. Salamat.
We hope to have you again in our future episode of Coffee Break. No? So, with all our viewers, please join us again next month as we discuss another important management topic and issue here in
Coffee break!
Coffee break!
Coffee break.
wala na.